everybody, to another show from 3PM. It's going to be a separate show for House of the Dragon Season 2. It's going to be a recap and review for Season 2, Episode 1, titled A Son for a Son. I have with me my beautiful wife, Lauren.
Hi.
Go ahead and say hi.
Hello.
And as always, if you've listened to our other episodes on our regular podcast or our Ahsoka recap review, I got Shane.
Well, hello there.
I appreciate you guys doing this. For anybody who's not aware, if you've never listened to another companion podcast or this, we're just going to go through episode by episode, share our thoughts, review the episode. We have not done one for Season 1, so maybe in the future we'll come back and do that. But this has been a really good season so far. Obviously, there's been 2 out so far for Season 2, so we're going to play catch-up a little bit. But right now, this episode, I'm excited to jump right into it. It's a really good one. You guys got anything you want to add before we just jump right in and start it?
No, I'm ready.
Yeah, let's, well, I guess, forewarning, I'm going to need Jake and Lauren's help identifying everyone and everything. There's a lot going in here, and as much as I like Game of Thrones, this is like Jake's Star Wars. So he will be the one that's got all the info this time, not me.
All right, well, as always, you can find us on Facebook, YouTube, now Apple Podcast, and iHeart. So that's what these will all be uploaded to. And any feedback at the end of the episode, if you guys have any questions, comments, you can get us at our email address, which is pixelsplotsandparenting@gmail.com. All right, we left off in Season 1. The very last scene really was Aemon Targaryen riding Vagar and kind of pimping Lucerys, Valerian a little bit, chasing him on his dragon and accidentally chopping him to little dragon pieces. Pretty rough ending to the first season. Just forewarning, all 3 of us are not book readers, so we will not be spoiling anything from the books, although I think I probably know more than all you guys where this is all heading and who bites the big one at the end of it, because I did a little spoiler research. But we are going to try and keep it as spoiler-free as possible.
Well, spoiler-free as long as you've watched the show.
Well, exactly, right, yeah. Everything can be spoiled up through Season 1. However, if you have seen Game of Thrones, there are spoilers for this series in the original Game of Thrones show. So just, mind what you're looking up there or rewatching if you don't want to be spoiled for the big plot points in this season. This season's episode, for the first one we're reviewing, is A Son for a Son. They have a new intro to the episode with kind of like a tapestry, kind of woven, a little more, I wouldn't say similar to the Game of Thrones intro, but a little more, I guess, unique. I didn't 100% like the first one with all like the rivers of blood and the buildings, and it kind of showed like the Targaryen history and whatnot. And so, you guys like the new intro? Don't really care? Hate it?
Didn't notice. Just love the music. That's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, I actually don't remember Season 1's intro. I assumed it was the same. I heard the classic da-da-da-da-da-da-da. It's like, oh, that's really cool. And I pressed skip. I saw the tapestry starting to get woven, and I was like, oh, that's a neat twist. The Game of Thrones was like cardboard figures popping up, and this is like sewing, and I pressed skip. So that was, I appreciate
Gotta love that
like
intro
the 5
skip
seconds
button.
I saw.
Right. Well, we start off the episode, which I thought was really cool, following a raven. Anybody who's watched the original, Game of Thrones series knows the importance of the raven. But you kind of see that flying over the north into Winterfell. You have Kragan Stark kind of narrating almost like his family's history, and you actually get to learn about some new traditions for the Starks, about how they select some of their family to go to the Night's Watch, which I think is really cool. I have heard that this is a this show's specific creation, which I think is cool that they're adding some more like lore to the backgrounds of the Starks. They basically pass around like this family. They have like all these stones in a bag, right? If you draw the black stone, you get to go to the wall, right? And they look at it more of like an honor and their duty more than like it's a sentence, right? Even though there's a bunch of like rapists and murderers and whatever at the wall, it's a proud tradition for the Stark family. We get to the wall. Actually, I thought we were going to spend more time in Winterfell, but turns out no. They're Jacaerys and Cregan Stark are actually at the wall, and they look out over the wall as Jason Cregan Stark are talking. He's kind of trying to convince them, being the diplomat, trying to get their support for the Team Black, let's call them, right, for Rhaenyra, and they look out over the wall, and Jacaerys kind of freezes a little bit, right? Just the vastness of the North, which I think is kind of cool. There's not much here other than the Starks are going to pledge 2,000 of their graybeards, right? They're not going to send their most fierce warriors because they still have to protect the North. They're the wardens of the North. They are going to send these 2,000 older men, they call them graybeards, who are kind of already seasoned, done their time, but are still, they're fierce northern warriors, right? So they agree on that. The only thing I would add to this is what I thought was kind of cool. They add some lore here where they talk about the conquerors of Westeros when Aegon the Conqueror and his two sisters, Visenya and can't remember the other name, whatever the other one's name is. One of them flew their dragon north, and the dragon refused to go north of the wall. I don't know if you guys picked up on that or not.
Yeah.
So, if you know anything about the actual Game of Thrones books, and if you read them, that was kind of a plot point, but it was never kind of proven until the show had Daenerys kind of just fly over the wall like it ain't shit. Right? So I think they're kind of backpedaling a little bit on that, and my hope with all of that is that they're going to completely recreate the Game of Thrones series for the show. That's just my long-winded rant on that, because it is kind of bullshit that the dragon was able to just fly over the wall, but anyway, I'll get off my soapbox. Pretty cool scene. Love seeing the wall again. Love seeing the North. All the history that we've all kind of come to love about the Game of Thrones series. So what were you guys' thoughts about this first scene?
Oh, Shane, I was going to let you go first. I don't know. I mean, I thought it was pretty cool seeing the wall, especially seeing Game of Thrones, and then like thinking back to like Game of Thrones and stuff, and then being like, oh yeah, I want to rewatch all of that all over again. That's really what it did for me. And then honestly, the only thing that I had questions about that I was like, what in the world, was they had just received a note from the prince, right, who is acting as the king.
Well, I think so what the letter that he actually received, it doesn't actually tell us like where it was from, right? It was just he just said it was from, I want to say Dragonstone. I can't really remember, but we assume it was just informing Jacaerys of his brother's death, right? That he got chomped up by little dragon bits.
Oh, now that makes sense.
Is kind of how I took that. I don't know, Shane, is that how you kind of read that?
Yeah, that's kind of how I interpreted the letter. They basically were like, hey, guess what, guys? Some shit just went down. Right. But I do want to backpedal a little bit. Jake, you talked about how, like, you saw the raven flying by and how that's significant. Now, I did watch the end of Game of Thrones, and I distinctly remember that raven ending up not meaning shit. So, I know there was build-up. Yeah. There was a lot of build-up like it meant something, but it doesn't.
Yeah, it turns out it actually didn't mean a whole hell of a lot in the end.
It was cool. It was a cool throwback to a meaningless plot line, because
listen, we're all still waiting for George to release the new book, and the rumor is it's going to be at the end of this season. He may release The Winds of Winter, so maybe it'll start meaning something again.
Wait. So, the book of the first Game of Thrones series is going to finish at the end of the
that's not even. Yeah, that's not even the finish. There's another book called A Dream of Spring after that one that he's also working on.
Is he working on it, though?
He sounds like the biggest procrastinator.
He's had like 10
honest.
years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
I mean,
Listen, I could go on and on about the disappointment on that note.
I will say I can't write books, so I don't want to judge George R.R. Martin too harshly, because like the first few seasons of Game of Thrones was fire, and I also don't want to turn this into a Game of Thrones bash fest. But there are some other really good authors out there. Jake, you and I are reading one of them, and they are pretty good at cranking out, books in a decent timeline. So, I just feel like maybe he should focus a little more.
Yeah, maybe. Why don't you write him a letter? See what he says.
Yeah, I was about to say, why don't you write him a letter, Shane? I think it'll make all the difference. Yep.
You're right. Let me do that right after this.
Okay.
But to get back to what we're talking about, I do think this intro scene's really cool. It was cool to see how they select people go into the wall.
Yeah.
And like when that one dude saw the wall for the first time, it's like, ugh. And there was that whole conversation about, like, it was like a mysterious conversation. They're talking about the White Walkers, but they don't say it. And he's like, no, there's a reason they built a wall this big and this long. Like, we're not sitting here just to sit here.
He even says, like, what are you keeping out or whatever, and I think Craig and Stark just said,
he's like, we don't need a bunch of warriors to keep out a bunch of wildlings and giants, and he's like, well, I'm pretty sure they didn't build this wall for wildlings and giants because we can take them, so it's something else.
Yeah, right.
And that's pretty cool.
Also ended up not being worth a shit, but in the Game of Thrones series, they kind of just were ended in one episode, but it's okay.
Well, I mean, I will say the White Walkers did a thing. I don't know if it was like a spell or I forget exactly how they broke the wall down, but they did have to do something. Like they didn't just walk through like it was nothing. Was it a satisfying process? No, but it wasn't just like, look, here's a wall and we're just gonna walk through its passages like it's nothing. Like they had to break it, destroy it, or whatever.
Ice dragon. Or whatever it was. Undead dragon.
Oh, well, a White Walker dragon, which
is kind of cool.
Pretty badass, yeah.
Alright, so we go back to Dragonstone. We see Rhaenys arriving on Dragonback, which they have like a little dragon airport in Dragonstone, which I think was kind of awesome. They kind of just fly up and...
Yeah, it's freaking sick.
Yeah, Daemon's there waiting for her, right? He's a hothead wanting to go take her and her dragon and Daemon and Caraxes, his dragon, and just go storm King's Landing and burn it all down. And she obviously refuses him. And I think one of the funniest lines in this episode so far was, when she's kind of walking away from him, and she says, or Daemon says, I order you, to get back on your dragon, and she just kind of walks away and says, would that you were the king. Right? He's kind of just throw it in his face, which I think is awesome. You do find out during them talking that Rhaenyra's been gone for weeks. Looks like she's searching for Lucerys' body or some kind of remains so she can kind of get some closure, right? She's probably by I can't remember what they're called, but where the Baratheons are. Because I think that's where it all took place. And so that's that. Anything to add?
I don't think so, not to that. I mean...
Yeah, honestly, you just kind of find out that Rhaenyra's been gone for a while, and then the next scene is you see Rhaenyra, and she's looking rough, pretty dirty, like she's been crying for days, and so it's pretty hard to watch. I mean, when your son is chomped to bits by a dragon, it's not funny, but it's like...
Well, not even just that, like, she sent him to do that, what I mean?
Right, so she's feeling a lot of guilt.
She probably holds on to, and I don't remember for certain, but I think he was nervous to go, too.
Yeah, I remember that too. It was like his first mission, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
His first time actually getting ready to fight on a dragon, and everyone propped him up like, "Hey, no, it's cool, because you're on this big ass badass dragon. Like you'll be fine."
Right.
And the next thing you know, chomp chomp.
Yeah. So I think she was feeling a whole ton of different emotions, guilt.
Yeah,
grief,
and how could
obviously.
you not? Yeah, it is pretty sad. So we go to Lord Corlys. He's watching his ship get repaired. This is in Driftmark. He's talking to his shipwright, who actually finds It looks like a dagger or sword, something that he had commissioned for Lucerys, who was going to be he's going to inherit Driftmark. He was, it's his grandson, sort of, right? He takes that from Lucerys, kind of, it's pretty sad, but he also finds out that this shipwright is the one who pulled him from the water and saved him, which is pretty cool. And I think we'll get into this more in this this season, but it looks like they're really putting an emphasis on the small folk, is what they call it, right? They introduce a couple more characters this episode and next episode that they're really putting a big emphasis on the common people, whereas last season it was really just the royals and the Targaryens and the High Towers, and that's pretty much it. But that was kind of cool. Get a little scene from Driftmark. His ship looks obliterated, right? I mean, it's looking pretty rough. It goes from there to the Red Keep. We see Arik, the A twin, who's manning the wall with some of the soldiers in the Red Keep. You see I can never remember the name of these things. What are those big, the big arrow things they're trying to shoot down dragons and shit, or they're used to shoot down dragons. Whatever that big...
I think they're called trebuchets?
No, that's the big catapult thing.
You're right. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, whatever those things are. You know what I'm talking about, right? With
Need
the big
to brush up
arrow.
on our medieval weaponry.
Yeah, I guess we need to, but that was cool to see. They're obviously kind of gearing up for anything could happen. King comes into his room to find Jaehaerys, which is his son, one of the twins, I believe, and Helena, his wife, who's also his sister, which, gotta remember, this is a Game of Thrones show. He wants his son to go with him, right? And Helena says that she's afraid, and, he kind of tries to calm her fears, whatever. She says, it's not dragons, but it's the rats, right? Which we obviously know at the end of this episode happens, but it kind of goes back to her, prophetic dreams or whatever she's got going on, which we're not really sure yet. She almost can see the future or something along those lines. We're not really sure, but that's kind of something to pay. It's definitely a character to pay attention to. Obviously, the last season we saw her, talk about the beast beneath the boards, right? And that's when Rhaenys and her dragon, I can't remember what its name is, Cyrax or something. I can't remember. They all run together, but they kind of blow up through the floorboards and kill a bunch of civilians, and then she doesn't end up killing the king and her family, but whatever. So definitely a character to pay attention to.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of cool seeing, I guess it wasn't cool, but it was weird seeing Aemon. I gotta make sure I get everyone's name right. No, Aegon, excuse me. Aegon.
There you go.
He was so proud to bring his kid to work. I mean, I hate it.
Yeah, that's
he's
what he's trying to do, right?
Right, but he's bringing his kid to work. I don't know. It felt, I don't know, very strange. And you could tell that the queen, I guess we shouldn't even say the queen. What is her name again?
I mean, she's the queen, technically.
She's the sitting queen right now, right? Is it Helena?
Yeah.
I need to make sure. But she was just not having it. She was just, does he really have to be involved in this? What is, why?
Well, he's too young already,
he's
right?
What? A toddler?
Basically, yeah.
So, and then the predictions, this is where we really see Helena have these visions more so, right? I mean, than this season, so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, you guys both pretty much hit the nail on the head. One thing that I found interesting that I've sort of been picking up on, not just in this episode, but even in the last season, how the distinction between House of Dragons and Game of Thrones, where in Game of Thrones, no one's really concerned about dragons, and once the dragons do finally get introduced, no one really knows how to react to that because they haven't dealt with it in forever. Whereas in House of Dragons, everybody, the way that they, organize their warfare, they are set up, to fight dragons. They're not necessarily set up to fight other soldiers. I mean, they are, but that's not what they're focused on. They got the giant, crossbow things, whatever they're called, make fun of us viewers. But they are 100% prepared and cognizant of the fact that warfare means giant flying fire-breathing lizards.
Yeah.
An
important thing to remember, though, at this time in the history, though, there hasn't been a significant war that So King Jaehaerys, who was there before King Viserys, who was Rhaenyra's father, right? And Aegon and Aemon's father, the old king who just died, last season. When he took over as king, the realm has been at peace. Right? There hasn't been war for years. He was known as a pretty great king, like one of the best Westeros has ever had. And so everyone's kind of out of practice. That's why they call it the Dance of Dragons is so significant, because King Jaehaerys, actually, if you watch the first episode, they talk about, King Jaehaerys knew that no one could match the might of the Targaryens. Right? They had the dragons. Nobody could match them. The only thing that's going to tear down the Targaryens is the Targaryens. Yeah. And that's kind of why this is so significant. And you start seeing, brother on brother, kind of like, Civil War, right? Brother on brother, cousin on cousin. You're
already seeing the seeds of the Targaryens taking out the Targaryens. They're already split, So, I don't know. I just thought, like, the dragon combat or preparation of dragon combat for foot soldiers was interesting, because you didn't have that in Game of Thrones. Even once everyone knew that Daenerys was coming through with full-grown dragons, like, they still were like, well, shit, we have nothing for this. Like, how are we
like, what do you do?
Yeah, there were so many people that literally just, quote unquote, bent the knee because they didn't know how to deal with it. And they're like, we'll just die. Whereas here, and I think this scene is a little bit later on, but like they see the mom flying in with their dragons, and they all retreat and get behind the friggin' trebuchet. Or I think it was on one of the walls. I don't remember. We'll get to it. But like they get ready. They're like, and they're aiming and they're ready to go until they recognize the dragon flying in, and then like, oh, okay, it's cool. But like their first gut reaction is, well, dragon's coming. We know what to do. Let's get on it. They weren't about to like give up or bend the knee or do any of that kind of stuff. They were ready to fight because they knew how to fight a dragon, which is it's cool. It's impressive.
So I hate this scene just because I hate these two characters with a passion. But
I'm right there with you.
Alicent is getting it on with Kristen Cole, the Lord Commander of the whatever the hell, the Gold Cloaks or whatever the hell. I can't stand either of these people, but they're kind of getting it on, which makes her in particular such a hypocrite. Also him, but really all this kind of started because Rhaenyra slept with him or whatever the hell, in the first season, and he went all dramatic, and now Alicent, held that against her, and now she's doing the same damn thing. And I heard some other people talking about this, and like, it's kind of nice that Alicent is finally getting to like explore her own romantic side or lust or whatever, because she hasn't had a choice. I mean, really, she was kind of given to Viserys at a very young age, so I understand that, but the absolute hypocrisy with these two characters, it drives me insane.
Honestly, he makes me more mad just because he did the same thing, and he was so mad at Rhaenyra for like leaving him in that role basically with her, and then now he's in the same.
Now it's okay
shit.
Because it's Alicent.
Now it's okay, right?
Some reason.
I mean, maybe he's. I don't know. I don't know that we've seen that he has any like deep feelings for her, right? I mean, it's been more very surface level and sexual, right? I mean,
Seems that way.
Yeah, so far, anyways. So maybe that's why he's okay with that, but.
Is this the scene where it cuts to like the dude and the chick, and he's like up her lady parts? And, okay, yeah. She ended up like being late or missing a meeting because of this. And
they go right into a small council meeting where you actually see the rat catchers setting traps, just kind of foreshadowing into the future a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And they go into the small council meeting from this, and this is where Lauren kind of already touched on this a little bit, but the king's son, so Aegon's son, Prince Jaehaerys, is there, on Bring Your Kid to Work Day, and is basically just tormenting Tywin Lannister, who's just on the small council, which is really funny. We find out that Alicent has sent letters to Rhaenyra, kind of like, how do you apologize for my son killing your son? But whatever. Yeah. She sent letters to her, and we don't actually know if they're getting to her. We don't really see that, but there's obviously been no response.
Yeah, so that's just how Game of Thrones is, both original series and this season, where they leave stuff out on purpose because they don't want to give away all of the motivations for the characters and all of like the secrets of what's going on. They're trying to keep the viewer sort of guessing, even if it's not. I don't know how to say it. Like obviously we know that somehow she was told that her son was murdered, or not murdered, but eaten by a dragon. But they're being a little smoke and mirrors about it. Which is cool. It sort of makes it interesting because it makes you think, like, do I really know what's going on?
Well, I guess the only thing that I'm kind of upset about, we don't get a scene when Aemon Targaryen comes back to the Red Keep and is like, oh fuck, I just killed my cousin or nephew or whatever they are. You know what I mean? That I kind of am upset we didn't get, but you kind of get the gist of how it went, where it seems as if he was kind of arrogant about it and didn't want to like say he made a mistake, and he's kind of like, we're at war, and that's kind of his position now. It is kind of how it seems, right? You see Aegon during this small council meeting kind of pimping Tywin, right? Just messing with him, egging on Jacaerys. There's a lot of distraction with his son. You can tell that Aemon is just not fitted for this king. I'm not saying he's like necessarily like a total bad guy, but he never wanted this position in the first place, and he doesn't know how to behave in a small council meeting.
He's a total child. That's exactly
what it is. It's a child who has a child.
And an adult child. I mean, they have to pull down his tantrums without like setting him off, because he's like also acting as king and could literally kill them all. You have to like somehow talk him down without pissing him off enough.
Yeah.
I will say this scene made me not like him so much because of like how immature and arrogant he is. That's all it
took for you to not like him, because for me it was when he was like jerking off like outside the window in the first season. I was like, who is this dude? F that. I don't ever want to see him again.
Of that and the child fighting rings, he was all about that, and the drugs and
Listen, Shane.
It's been over a year since I saw season 1, so I actually didn't remember that.
There were a lot of parts before this anyway.
So I'm looking at this with fresh eyes. This little council meeting made me kind of not really like him. With fresh eyes, not seeing the first season.
Yeah.
In the next few scenes, I don't know if it's the next scene or like 2 scenes later, he's having his little council meeting, and that did kind of change my opinion of him.
In the throne room?
Is he arrogant and immature and kind of an idiot? Yeah. Absolutely. But he is a child who is given way more power than a child.
And you can kind of tell, like, if he had the right guidance, like if Viserys was alive and whatever.
Or maybe if someone had parented him as a kid, like he was.
Well, and Alicent is not a good parent, obviously.
His parenting was, hey, you're super powerful and you're better than everyone else, so whatever you do doesn't matter because it'll be okay.
Can I curse yet?
Right?
Am I like?
Yeah, you go ahead.
Okay, he was already a little shit like beforehand, and then sorry, I just been wanting to call him a little shit this entire time. I don't understand why. Here, I have to backtrack for a second. Why Alicent, even if she thought she heard Viserys say his name, why she effing thought that her son, who masturbates out the window, like the whole child, like that he was fit to be king. And
they all knew who he was, and they know he's unfit. And this was all just scheming from really Otto Hightower and Alicent. But
and honestly, like this is just how royalty in Game of Thrones is. Those with power can do whatever they want, and it's okay, because they have power. And as a child, being raised with that sort of mentality, like, I mean, yeah, he's going to pick up some pretty nasty quirks because he thinks it's okay, because he's royalty, and in the Game of Thrones universe, you know, might makes right. he's got the power, so
Listen,
whatever he
Rhaenyra's
does is
kids
okay.
are not little shits
Now-
like he was, so. And also the rest of Allison's
true.
kids aren't little shits.
Well-
he's just a little shit.
Some people, do things a little bit differently. But like I said, in a few scenes from now, I think we see some, at least somewhat, redeeming qualities.
A little bit.
But Jake,
All right, you can tell that Aegon, is really leaning on his brother, right? Because he has the biggest beast in the universe that we know of at this point, right? Vhagar. And he's pretty quick to his temper. He wants to go to war. He invites his brother, Aemond, to the small council meeting, kind of not telling anybody else. The Hand, which is Otto or his own mother. Kind of child's behavior by the king, right? Otto trying to be diplomatic with his letters and oaths, and Aegon really not wanting to hear it, right? I mean, he's a child, like you already said. They wrap up the small council meeting, and on the way out, Alicent runs into creepy feet guy, Larys Strong, who comments on her being indisposed before the small council meeting. So, I guess my question to you guys, do you think he knows what's going on between her and
I think he knows
Cole?
He knows everything that's going on, 1,000%. He knows.
Well,
way too much.
he even comments here that he saw to the staff, trying to make sure that there's no leaks in the staff, that they can trust everybody, and he basically says he killed everybody and then replaced them all personally with people who are loyal to him. So now he has ears everywhere.
Yeah,
I mean, this
which
is.
she didn't even change or anything. She just, you see her next scene in a bath with all these people that he replaced. What? Right? Is that what you guys got from that? He had replaced all the staff, so even the people
Yeah.
helping her, and she's like, "Yeah, get out. This is creepy," but she
Yep.
never does anything about it. Why does he get to?
Well, no, I mean, she's already dug herself a hole with pretty much everyone she's put around her, and Larys is just another one of those people who she's leaned on, and now she's in too deep, it seems like.
I guess we'll find out when he decides to let that information out. You know what I mean? I wonder
Or
if he will
use
be
it
the
to his
one or not.
advantage.
Yeah.
honestly, I love this character.
Yeah, I bet
Not
you
because
do.
You can identify with him, can't you, Shane?
Are you a feet guy?
No, he's
I can totally see it.
he's like the worst combination in the best way of Littlefinger and the dude that cut off that other dude's penis.
God. Yeah.
He's
Bolton,
he's
Ramsay-
equal parts
Ramsay
knows
Bolton.
everything, but also really weird and creepy and disturbed at the same time. And I'm fucking here for it. Excuse my French.
No,
I cannot wait to see what kind of messed up shit this guy gets
I don't
into.
like him at all. He's awful. I liked Littlefinger better. I liked
but
Littlefinger
that-
better than him.
Well, I will say Littlefinger was a lot
Littlefinger
smarter.
was kind of
I
a
think.
pussy.
He definitely wasn't. I don't think this guy holds a torch to Littlefinger as far as the cunning and how intelligent Littlefinger was. However, I do think that this guy's a little more.
He's
He's just a little more evil, or whatever you want to call it. He's just. I don't know. There's something about him yet that they just haven't revealed.
That's what I'm saying. He's like the best worst combination of those two characters. He's got the subterfuge going, and he's got that fucked up mind with it. I don't like him because I think he's a good character. He's like the spawn of Satan, and I just can't wait to see what kind of messed up shit he causes, because whatever that dude's a part of is about to be effed in the
I
air.
can appreciate
an
an intelligent, badass villain. You know what I mean? I can totally appreciate that. However, I just don't think he's very, like Jake said, intelligent. I think
I think
Well,
he
hopefully
is
we'll see that.
intelligent. I think because he plays off of being like this, he's always he's got his cane and he's limping around, and he's like Smeagol but a human version, acting all creepy or whatever. I think he's playing into that. He's letting people see him as this character that can't do anything, and if it were to come to raw combat, the dude can't do shit. But I think he's a lot smarter than what people are giving him for, and I think he's got his fingers into a lot of different pots that people don't realize. And I think he's going to turn into a real significant player that is going to have some severe consequences.
Yeah, I think
like
you're
that's
right.
why I like him. It's not because he's got a freaking foot fetish, you weirdos. It's because I think some real significant stuff is going to go on around him, and it's going to be
Yeah, I
real
think
messed
you're
up.
right. All right, we cut to Rhaenyra. She's with her dragon. She sees this ship being, coming into shore with like this like debris being pulled up on shore. She flies down there. Everyone scatters. Fucking freaking out. Dragon, right? And she does go and find it's a messed up dragon wing, part of Lucerys' dragon, we assume, and it looks like Lucerys' cloak, right? So she's kind of it's kind of showing that she has gotten some closure. Like she knows now that she found her son, more or less, and her dragon Cyrax is kind of like freaking out in the background at the end of that scene too. So if you know anything about the dragons and their lineage, I believe that Cyrax I think he is related to Lucerys' dragon, whether it's its mother, which I think that's what it is, but I know that they're related. So it kind of shows that not only is Rhaenyra grieving, but so is Cyrax. We go back to King Aegon. He's entering the throne room with his posse of frat brothers. It seems like these court flunkies, and the one guy calls him the Magnanimous, and he kind of looks at him like the Magnanimous.
He's like making up words. He's like, "Hey, dude, I don't even know what this means," and he's like, "Yeah, I'm just saying this stuff to make it sound cool."
Which we actually find out later in the show. They're all sitting around the throne room drunk with all his buddies, and they're kind of talking about that, and he talks about he wants to be called the Dragon Cock or whatever.
I'd like to be called
Yeah,
that.
I bet you
Never
would.
happening. Never happening. Nope.
He starts hearing petitions from the common folk, right? As part of his kingly duties. He's supposed to sit and hear petitions. And the first one comes up and asks, it's like a sheep herder, right? And the kingdom, the king took these flocks of sheep for the coming winter, things like that. Something that's pretty common. And this one guy comes up and basically asks for his sheep back. And before he even thinks about what he's saying, because he's not accustomed to this, he just, we'll give him back. And so Otto has to kind of turn around, walk up the steps, and slap his hand a little bit and be like, that's kind of not how this works, guy, and so he changes his mind, right? So second guy is asking about the blocked, or the blockade, right, that Rhaenyra and her forces are creating with Corlys, Lord Corlys, and his boats and ships. They're making this blockade so they can't get in, like, I think salt was in particular what this guy was asking about. And he immediately says, well, I plan to go burn their fleet with my brother's dragon, right? So he kind of dismisses him. And then the third guy walks up as a blacksmith and basically asks for a raise from Aegon. And without consulting Otto, he kind of almost dismisses Otto and says, yeah, no problem. We'll just start giving you guys more money. Like, this, you can clearly tell that Aegon has no idea what the hell he's doing.
Well, it's like he wasn't obviously prepared for the role, but also like why he didn't know about any of these things. Do you know what I mean? Like, why is he not?
Well, yeah, and you see Otto kind of like, obviously like kind of looking down his nose at him like, what the hell are you doing? But Otto has done nothing to prepare him for this either. Like, that's your job as the hand.
Yep. Well, and it's also kind of like an FU to Otto from Aegon. You know what I mean? Saying like I'm kind of tired of you. I can make a decision on my own too. Because not everything has to be your decision.
Yeah.
So
Otto reminds me of what was the Lannister that was ruling everything? Was it Tyrion?
Tywin.
Like the grandpa?
Tywin.
What's that? Mm-hmm. Yeah, Tywin. So Otto, even like visually, reminds me of him.
A little bit. I think Tywin was definitely more
and
cunning and a lot more like battle smart.
powerful.
A lot more powerful. But yeah, I can definitely see that he is definitely like the Tywin character of this series, I would say.
Yeah, but this was the scene that made me sort of change my opinion of the king.
Aegon?
What was his name again? Aegon. Now, granted, ignorant AF, right? Like, this dude does not know how to rule a kingdom. But he's listening to his people, and he's hearing them suffer, and all he really wants is to help them out, right? The first thing was with the sheep. Otto comes in and is like, hey, like, we can't give the sheep back because the dragons need to eat, and that's our, like, main force, and we need them for, you know, their other resources as well. We can't just give this dude his sheep back. But the other dude, like, he wanted a raise, like you said, and he's like, all right, bet. Otto, fuck you. Like, I seceded on the sheep issue, but these guys are making our weapons for us.
Well, he even makes a comment about, like, small
help.
folk is how we, stay in charge, right? He even makes that kind of comment.
Yeah, so and this is where my opinion of him really sort of took a turn. Is he an idiot? Sure, obviously. But I think his intentions are well. He does know that he can get away with whatever. Obviously, we've seen that. And he's taken advantage of that. But he also understands that he's ruling a kingdom of, like we've been saying, little people. And those little people sometimes need a little bit of help. And he really wants to help. He's just really dumb and doesn't know how to do it.
I need you to rewatch season 1. Remember he raped a girl. Remember? I can't. I will never. I can't. I don't care how much of a child you are. Sorry, but nope.
That's true.
I mean, I understand that the dude's done messed up stuff, but, like, look at the Game of Thrones initial series, or original series, right? Everyone is doing messed up stuff. But it goes back to might makes right, so my personal wants and or needs, I can do what I want and get away with it, and there's no consequences. Like, he's living in a world where that's not wrong. In our society, it's wrong, but in their society, it's not. And so that's why he thinks it's okay to do that sort of stuff, but he also sees the fact that, like, the people in his kingdom matter.
Yeah.
So, right after that, the whatever you want to call it, his little seeing petitions, right, from the small folk, it cuts over to Laris, to kind of try and take advantage of the situation, it seems like. Right? He says something. He pulls the king aside out in this, like, little balcony. And basically, I wouldn't say convinces him, but just leans into, like, Aegon's already, wavering faith in Otto. And he basically talks shit about Otto Hightower, is what Laris is doing, and saying that he's the old hand. He was your father's hand. He doesn't need to be your hand, type of deal, right? And I kind of go back to what you were saying, Shane, is that he's kind of just in the shadows, right? He's just taking advantage of every little thing he can and trying to manipulate the kingdom now as he sees fit. For what end? I don't know, but I guess we'll find out. Alicent and Otto trying to get on the same page, it looks like. They've been bickering the whole show so far. Alicent, you can see, is pretty naive and wants Rhaenyra to just surrender. She doesn't think it needs to come to war. Obviously, that's a naive position at this point. Speaks about Aemon killing Lucerys, and she's basically trying to tell Otto that they need to just mind Aegon, right, until the novelty of ruling wears off. Right? They just want to manipulate him, and this kind of goes back to what you were saying, you guys both were saying earlier about, like, Alicent knew he wasn't the right choice for this. Right? She used what fucked up dream, Viserys was kind of disoriented and just said Aegon, right, as an excuse to put her son in that position. Right, so they're both plotting behind his back to manipulate him at this point.
Well, and he makes you wonder if she's regretting it, because you see her face in so many different places in the season so far where she's just, like, helpless, and she's like, man, was this the right decision, I don't know, I can kind of see her contemplating this whole thing, Yeah. Like, this is not what she thought this would come to. You know what I mean? She did not expect that this would be, this big.
Well, I think she probably just hoped for more, right? But she knew who her son was.
Right.
How could you not?
Well, no, I just mean, like, by putting her son on the throne, like, it's like she didn't realize that this would come to, like, Rhaenyra would not.
Well, right, yeah, no, I think she really thought that Rhaenyra was just going to give in. is what it seems like. Rhaenyra returns on her dragon. There's kind of a sweet moment between her and Daemon, right? He comes over and kind of puts her forehead to hers and asks her if she found what she needed. She nods, and she goes to the head of the table. Right? It's a small council meeting, kind of impromptu small council meeting for the Blacks, and everyone's kind of throwing updates at her. Where we're at with the blockade, where we're at with whatever, King's Landing, and all she says is, "I want Aemon Targaryen," and then leaves. So, when you say something like that to your husband, and you already know Daemon's a hothead,
yeah, he's ready to go.
Shit's gonna pop off.
Yeah.
Now, she's a mother grieving, so I'm not saying it's her fault, but that's probably not the smartest thing.
He was ready to pop off before she said that. So
Yeah.
that, like,
Yeah. But that kind of he used that as like the go.
Oh yeah.
He was looking for a reason. She gave him a reason. Shit's about to get real.
Right. So, knowing Daemon, he goes right to the cell with Mysaria. He gets it doesn't really show what he gets, right? But he knows that there's people in King's Landing that don't like the Hightowers, and he gets some information from Mysaria, we assume. Then there's another really sweet moment between Rhaenyra and Jacaerys. This is the first time they've seen each other, it seems like, since, definitely because Rhaenyra's been gone. It's the first time they've seen each other since, his brother has been killed, since Lucerys has been killed. Jacaerys kind of tries to, do the quote-unquote manly thing and give her the updates and tries to hold it together. He just can't. He starts breaking down. Rhaenyra goes to him, hugs him. It was very sweet. You can kind of see the pain that actually has caused them. I don't know. I guess as a mother, how did you like this scene, Lauren?
I did not love it. I mean, I'm glad they touched on it because then it showed that emotion, of what they're both feeling, together. I mean, it was good to see that how like this was affecting them just because it's important, but it was hard.
Yeah, it's hard to watch. It really is. You definitely get this. I mean, what great actors, actor and actresses, whatever, really conveyed like the hurt and why both sides of this war really got to the point where they're at. It's just this back and forth until it's gone to the point of no return. You kind of start seeing that right now, really. And this next couple scenes kind of goes back and forth, but Alicent's in the Red Keep. She's at the Sept. Not in the Red Keep, whatever, King's Landing. She's at the Sept. She's lighting candles, praying, whatever, and she actually ends up lighting one for Lucerys, which was kind of nice. You can kind of tell that she's probably regretting some of the decisions she has, but she's not, again, not a character. I don't think any of George R. R. Martin's characters are pure evil, right? They're just made some stupid decisions, and you kind of see that with her. You see the funeral pyre that they make for Lucerys, at least for whatever remains they found. The Jacaerys and then the younger son, I can't remember the youngest son's name, but they kind of throw in like a toy or like a blanket, whatever it was, and they kind of, give him a send-off. And then right after that, you see Daemon arriving on King's Landing with his big, it looks almost like very, like the iconic Obi-Wan robe. He's got the hood up, stalking through King's Landing. He finds this guard who, I guess this is the information he received from Mysaria, right? He knows this guard. He sees that he's loyal to him, whatever. He has like a little bag of money, whatever. And the guy basically says, I hate the fucking Hightowers. And so they go and find that rat catcher. And the rat catchers know the in and outs of the keep, right? I mean, that's their job. And so he goes, he pays him half now to do a job, and he said he promises half later. Now, the job is to go kill Aemon Targaryen. Right? That's the job. That's what he was sent there to do. And they ask, what if we can't find Aemon? And it kind of just pans off, and you kind of see like a smirk on Daemon's face a little bit, right? So you already know this is probably not going to go as planned. So Aemon and Cole, kind of two peas in a pod here, planning war behind everyone's back and scheming together. Aemon talking shit about Alicent, which is kind of unprecedented because, it's hard to tell who knows what, right? Because it's almost like he's looking at Kristen Cole to get a rise out of him, like he almost knows that those two are hooking up. So he's like continuously talking shit about his own mother. And Cole's somewhat defending her a little bit, but not too much. You know,
He knows. Give that away.
But he doesn't want to give that away, and he also knows that Aemond is a pretty competent fighter too, because Kristen Cole's the one who's trained him. So not the guy you want to piss off. Otto comes in and interrupts and sends Cole away, and confronts, Aemond about the scheming behind the hand's back, behind the king's back. And Otto, is kind of, his diplomatic self. There's many pieces of play, some which you cannot see. And saying that exact phrase, some you cannot see, to a guy who is missing an eye is almost intentional. It's got to be intentional. I don't know. Did you guys take it as that or no?
It didn't even catch that, so...
Yeah.
but now, yeah.
Yeah, he does. He's sitting there, and Otto says, "There's many pieces at play here, some of which you cannot see." And then he kind of looks at him. I think it was intentional, in my opinion.
I'm sure it was.
I'm gonna be honest. Like, these scenes to me, while I was watching it, I watched them as build-up scenes, which is what they were, because they lead to the finale of the episode. And
Right.
like, now that you spell it out, Jake, I get what you're saying. I did not catch it in the episode, though. But it does make sense. And, I mean, these guys are, like, when you watch and see how they do what they do, they are kind of shit talkers. So it makes sense that they're pulling a jab real quick because they know they can get away with it. And it is kind of funny, like looking at it now. But honestly, like I said, these are build-up scenes, which are leading up to probably what you're about to talk about next, which I do have questions about, because I don't fully remember season 1, and I don't fully understand the people that are involved. So, please continue.
I got you. Okay. So we go to the rat catcher and the gold cloak who, Daemon has hired to go kill Aemond. They've entered the sewers. The rat catcher kind of gets a little shitty, right? They get through the sewers, they get to the Red Keep, right, under the palace or whatever you want to call it. And he's basically, okay, on your way to the gold cloak, right? And the gold cloak takes him by the throat. It's like, no, you're going with me.
Yeah, we gotta fucking go.
Yeah. And so, they finally get in there. He knows a way in, and they pass the king, right? They're in the throne room, and they pass the king. He's hammered with all his frat buddies, it seems like. This is where you kind of get the dragon cock reference, and they just walk past them like nothing. Like, obviously, this is the job, right? One's a gold cloak, one's a rat catcher. Nobody's probably going to say anything, but so they sneak on by, right? They open the door to the room. Well, before I actually get to that, Pete is going to hate this show. The guy kicks the dog at one point, right? When they're in the sewers or whatever. Yeah. When we were watching that last night, Lauren audibly gasped and was more upset about that than I think anything else in the episode.
I'm going to defend Lauren here. I feel like that was really messed up and unnecessary.
They cut a child's head off, and I feel like she was more upset about kicking the dog.
But there was a reason to cut the child's head off versus there wasn't a reason to kick.
There was a reason to cut the child's head off.
Listen,
well, he had a reason. He had a
That kid could have grown up to be Game of Thrones Hitler. That dog did nothing wrong.
He was a good boy.
Yeah, exactly.
Neither did that child, but you know what I mean. It just you weren't there to do that, and you just decided to be an asshole. So, yeah,
true. So they open up that door to one of those hidden doors, hidden passages that a lot of people have come to see, and they open up this door to where Aemon and Cole were just in, where Otto came in and disrupted them. Right? They're no longer in there. We assume that this is Aemon's room. Not really sure. But I assume this is Aemon's room. They're not there. They go searching, right? The one guy, he says, "We'll lay some traps." It's kind of a don't blow their cover, lay some traps, and we're gonna go room to room search for these people. The gold cloak runs into a handmaiden who he's like trying. She kind of knows something's not right. He's trying to set up this trap, doesn't know how to do it, and he turns around and she's already run off. So he's like, okay, well, we're already kind of screwed. Let's hurry this up. The rat catcher, he hears him in the other room. He hears the rat catcher right in the other room, and he comes around the corridor, goes into the room where Helena is with her two children, two of her children anyway.
Jake, quick pause, because
Yeah.
I don't know what's what, and when I was watching the scene, I wasn't really sure what's going on. Who are those two children?
So those two children are the king's children.
Okay.
Helena, the girl who's in there, is the queen. The king is Aegon.
Yep.
Those are brother and sister. And the twins are their two children. One is a boy, one is a girl. Jaehaerys, the boy, happens to be the heir to Aegon.
So she, because they, and I'm sure you're about to go into the scene, but because I'm ignorant, let's talk it through. They ask him, they ask her a question, like, who is who? I don't remember exactly what their words were. We're like, hey, who's who? And she points. And the one dude is like, oh, she's not lying. And he goes and shellacks a frickin' baby. And she grabs the other one and takes off. So why
Yeah, so what happens
Okay.
is they were not able to find Aemond. And they did not
Yeah.
have enough time to find Aemond.
Got that much.
So the directions we assume they got from Daemon was a son for a son. So they're trying to find one more son.
So she points them towards the son and then grabs the daughter and takes off.
Exactly. They ask her which one is the son. She points. The rat catcher's looking at her and says, oh, she's not lying.
Yeah.
Well, it's important to say that she literally had a vision right before. So whatever her vision was, she told her which one to point at. You know what I mean?
That's the vision chick. The one that's like, oh, the rat.
Yes.
Like, I don't.
Yes,
So it's
that's
weird
her.
'cause she had
That's
a vision.
Helena or
Okay,
whatever.
yeah.
Helena, yeah.
So you kind of wonder, like, what did she choose the boy because of the vision she had? Like, would they have taken both?
Yeah, we don't
Would
really
she
know,
you know what I
right?
mean? Like, I don't know.
Yeah. We don't really know. We don't really know the extent of her gifts or abilities or anything like that. But all we see is that she points to the boy. They go to the boy, start cutting his head off. You can hear it.
Yeah.
And she picks up the daughter and runs to Allison's room. She interrupts Allison
What's
and Cole
crazy to me
getting it
is
on.
they let her take the baby and run. Like, they don't try to stop her.
I think
That's
they're there
true.
for a mission. They're like, whatever, this is
Yeah.
what we can
Yeah,
do.
they
Like,
weren't
this
there
is
to
the one
kill
we're at.
unnecessarily.
This is the one we're after, so, like, you go do your thing, and...
Yeah. I mean, this is, honestly, this is really the end. The only thing she says is to Allison when she's like, oh, God, Helena, what's wrong? And all she says is they killed the boy.
Yeah.
And that's the end. But yeah, I
And
mean,
can we talk
essentially...
about how she said, like, the boy, like, not my son, like, they killed
Yeah,
the boy.
she killed
So
the
that
boy.
is
Not
so
my
that
son,
is
like-
her son.
That's her
That
son.
is her son. That is Prince Jaehaerys,
Okay.
whose father is the king Aegon.
Damn, that's crazy.
So yeah, pretty traumatic. Someone being put, like, having to choose one of their children, and I mean, it's just
Oh my gosh.
obviously
can you
pretty
imagine?
traumatic.
What also, like, I wonder if, like, she tells everybody kind of what happened later on, or if they know that she had to tell
Well, I think
them
she
which
at
one the
least
boy
tells
was.
Allison, right?
Yeah.
Hey guys, sorry we had a little bit of connectivity issues, and then our toddler woke up. So this is Jackson.
Jackson, say hi.
Say Uncle Shane.
Uncle Shane.
All right, Jake. So where do we leave off? We were I don't know. We were at a spot close to the end.
Yeah, it was the end. Hi, buddy. It was the end. That was it. They killed the boy, and that was it. I mean, it leaves it off on a cliffhanger.
I think
And
the only
we'll
thing
see
left
what
to
happens
talk.
next.
Well, the only
next
thing to talk
episode.
about too is that she walked in on her mom again, right? Didn't she, like, on her and Sir Kristen again? Like, obviously.
Yeah. So that's the other thing. I mean, they obviously didn't stop. Like earlier in the episode, they talked about maybe we can't do this again, and then they end up doing it again. It's like
Right.
the hypocrisy there with those two is
Yep.
mind-boggling. I just can't stand them. But
Well,
as far as the first episode goes... Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Shane.
I feel like when they said, we can't do this again, there was very much them saying what they knew they needed to say, but they didn't mean we can't do it again. They were just speaking the words that they needed to speak. Because obviously they both knew, like, we're going to keep doing this more or less in secret. They were just they were just saying what they knew they needed to say. I think that's what was going on.
Right.
Oh my God, he's so cute though.
Well, in case anybody asked, the headphones he has on are not hooked up to anything. They're my old Xbox headphones. Yeah, but I think for the first... yeah, he really wants to talk to Uncle Shane. And headphones. I think for the first episode of this, I'm pretty pleased. I like it. It's a really good series. We have seen the second episode, just full disclosure, so we know what happens next, but we'll do another one of these as soon as we have some extra time. Obviously, it's hard to do all this during nap time, but we'll work it out. So I appreciate you guys sticking around, making the time to do this. It's been fun. It's been the first one I've been able to do with my wife, so that's really cool. And now Jackson. So.
Yeah. I haven't actually seen the second episode yet. I watched only the first one to prep for this.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to get in on the second one. Just so the viewers know, I've been watching House of Dragons on my phone because Germany doesn't like HBO. So I do a, what is it,
VPN?
There it is, a VPN on my phone, and that's how I watch this, so. Oh, man, he's cute. Haven't seen episode 2 yet. I will probably watch that.
He keeps saying, hello, Shane.
Friday or Saturday next week.
Okay.
And, yeah, then we'll hopefully be able to do another episode.
Yeah, that'll be cool. Well, this was fun, guys. I'm glad we did it. You guys got anything before we leave?
Thanks for having me.
Jackson, what do you have left on your mind? You know, you tell us what you thought of the episode.
He thought
did
the
not watch
dragons
it,
were
that's
cool.
for sure.
Yeah, he's not allowed to watch that. All right, guys. Well,
Jax. Yeah.
Well, for 3PN, I'm Jake. I got Shane with us, Jackson and Lauren. So we can't wait to see you guys next time. Check us out on Facebook, YouTube, iHeart now, Apple Podcasts. Send any feedback, questions, comments. Let us know how we did. I know it's been a little messed up episode with all the distractions and having to stop technical difficulties, but hopefully you stuck with us. And
Jake,
we'll see you next time.
Jake, real quick.
Yeah.
With the new platforms that we're on, is 3PN good enough, or do they need to spell out pixels, plots, and parenting? Because I know on some of other platforms,
Yeah, it's the same as
3PN out
Spotify.
there.
Yeah, it's the same as Spotify, so you can type in either usually. I've been able to find it with both.
Okay, cool.
Oh, hold on, buddy.
Alrighty, guys. Have a good one.
Bye.
Yeah.